Now, from the University of Okoboji, it's Okoboji Broadcast with Jeff Thee.
Welcome to Okoboji Broadcast, everybody. I'm Jeff Thee. We're here at the Dickinson County Museum, and guess who I found just standing here waiting for me? Mary Dreier.
Yeah, I always dress with the microphone on and stand here. This is what I do all the time.
When you're not having your noon yogurt.
Yes, that's right.
We had just yesterday one of our few blizzards.
No, Jeff. Not a blizzard.
Not in comparison to what I remember as a kid being a blizzard, but
those were magical days.
Those were magical days, especially waiting by the radio for
the announcement.
Yeah, no school today.
And you go, yay!
Mother's going. But we did have snow, and it impacted a little travel, but it's nothing. Nothing compared to a blizzard we're going to talk about today.
No. We had, to preface this today for Way Back When Wednesdays, which are so fun. If you're not coming to Way Back When Wednesdays at 10 o'clock, you're missing a heck of a lot of fun. We have had to move into this space here in the exhibit hall because we have so many people coming now.
Isn't that wonderful?
And the conversation just flows. Today, Frank had found a bunch of information about the blizzard of 1888.
That's even before my time.
Well, yeah, it's even before Bob's time.
Now we're talking. He found an article that was in the Milford Mail in 1936, written by F.J. Smith, who was a well-known person around the lakes area. Yeah.
He had a cottage on Miller's Bay. I think there's one building from the compound that's still left there, kind of across from Casarelli's.
Okay.
But he was a well-known doctor here in the area. He wasn't living here at the time. He was living near Alton, Iowa, west of here. And he wrote this article about his experiences back in 1888 of this blizzard. And it's just amazing. Just absolutely amazing.
Sure.
May I read a bit?
Please do.
Because, and actually this is very small print. Oh gosh. This blizzard happened on January 12th of 1888. It had been snowing all of several days, and the morning of the 12th was mild, and there was not a breath of air. It seems like a lot of the worst storms start out like that.
Okay.
Yes. Just kind of perfection weather-wise, and then all of a sudden it hits. At 4 o'clock, the depot telegrapher was in the drugstore delivering a message to a traveling agent. Now, side note on that, all the depots had telegraph machines, and they were kind of the internet of the day.
Right.
Messages came through, only everybody didn't have a receiver like we have with our phones now.
Right.
So the telegraph agent would have to go out into the community to deliver the messages. Okay, so that's what was happening here. He was delivering a message to a traveling agent, and this traveling agent reported that he had just received a message from Haywarden telling of a frightful storm that had struck the town.
Okay.
Now, I don't know how many miles are between those two towns. Do you know? I don't.
Haywarden's more over by Sioux City area, isn't it? And
I don't know. We're getting in.
I do have some family that are from that, and so it's western, maybe a little south of us.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Okay, so remember, Dr. Smith's in Alton. The storm arrived at Alton in less than half an hour. And in just a few minutes, you could not see across the street. There were a number of people in town who did not reach their homes in Alton that night. Among them, one gentleman who happened to come close enough to the Alton Milling Company building to hear the noise of the machinery, and when he got into his office, he stayed there all night. These blizzards, the real blizzards.
Yeah, the real, yes.
In the good old days, were so terrifying because you couldn't see.
Yeah.
You could not see anything. Old Mr. DeBrune, who had a coal business across the street from the mill, was caught by the storm when he was on the railroad right-of-way halfway between Orange City and Alton.
Okay.
He got down on his hands and knees, keeping in touch with the rails until he came opposite the mill, which he could hear in operation, and he also landed in the office. He followed the railroad tracks.
By lucky, yeah.
Yeah. Then there were 3 parties from Greenville who were within a half mile of Greenville when the storm overtook them, and they did not reach home that night. They finally unhitched the mules and turned them loose so that they could go to safety.
Right.
They kept up walking and stayed together, keeping up their courage by singing. You'll love this, Jeff. McGinty went down to the bottom of the sea. He must be awful wet, for they haven't found him yet. They sang that again and again and again and again. Finally, about 7 or 8 miles south of Greenville, they struck a slough which was badly drifted, and only one person crossed it. The other 2 kept going in a small beaten track in a circle, keeping up the song, that same song, until daylight when they went to the nearest house. Berg, the 3rd man, came to a straw stack. He tried to dig into it, but he could not because it was frozen.
Wow.
So he kept going around and around the straw stack. And when day broke, he found he was not over a dozen feet from a house.
Wow.
Imagine, 12 feet away.
That's disoriented. You know, I mean, what those storms could do.
Yeah.
Yes.
He was 12 feet from a house.
Yeah.
Overnight.
No idea.
No idea.
Wow. It's scary. I mean,
it really is.
It had to
and
have
you
been a
see
level
why
of fright.
these storms were so terrifying to people. I mean, I'm sure that you read the Laura Ingalls Wilder's books when you were a kid, like I did, and how Pa, during a snowstorm, had to run a line from the house out to the barn to feed the cows.
Make sure you knew where you were going.
Yeah, and if you lost the line, you were lost. The next day at 4 o'clock, I received a telegram from Granville, and this is Dr. Smith talking now, that there were 3 people just about frozen to death, the 3 guys that we talked about, and to come over at once. As my own horses were but small Indian ponies, which had belonged to my predecessor, I hired a man and team at the livery stable, and we got about 1 mile east of town when we came to the low slough east of the Wagner farm. And we were compelled to put the horses into a farm barn, and we walked through a cornfield until we arrived at the railway right-of-way, after which we followed it until we got to Granville, trip taking 5.5 hours.
Oh my goodness.
This was a doctor on a mission.
Yeah. And the travel had to have been extremely difficult. When you think about that amount of snow and you're the first to go through it.
I don't know how they did it.
No.
Besides that, Jeff, it was 30 degrees below zero with a stiff breeze out of the northwest, which persisted until the next day.
I wouldn't call that a breeze. That's wind, baby.
No.
Yeah.
Later in life, Dr. Smith says, I had seen guys who seemed he'd seen some pretty hard snowstorms, and he'd talked to guys who had also seen pretty hard snowstorms. And these guys and these friends were pleased to call them blizzards. But they were not blizzards. You cannot face a blizzard. The fine particles of snow strike the face with such a velocity that your face is just about 1 million, filled with 1 million bee stings.
Wow. Incredible.
So Dr. F.J. Smith had no sympathy for folks who called normal snowstorms blizzards after his experience in this.
He wouldn't have cared for you yesterday, would he? It's a dusting.
It's a dusting.
Yeah.
Yeah. At way back when this morning, we were talking about how snowstorms affected the area back in the day. When you see the pictures of trains with snow up to the top of the train and they can't get through, that means that the folks in towns weren't getting their coal to heat their houses.
Yep.
They weren't getting food supplies.
Yep, no provisions.
They weren't getting mail.
Yeah.
Because the railroads brought all of that.
Yeah. completely isolated.
Completely isolated.
And nothing incoming. You know, you think of even today, people, they hear a storm's coming, and off to the grocery store they go.
I mean, it's a ritual, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. And even, 80 years ago when there was more farming, more rural area and so forth, and people did that. Then you hear about this storm, and what they had available to them.
I was thinking also about this in 1888. Now, my point of reference is the depot building, which was built in 1884.
Right.
This was 4 years after this depot was built, okay? This depot we discovered when we insulated it a few years ago. Had no insulation.
Right.
I mean, none. How cold it would have been. Houses would have been the same way.
Yeah. And probably pumping water from the outside with the old hand pumps,
You would have had to bring the water inside.
Or snow.
And at 30 degrees below zero, it would have...
Nothing's fun at 30
And can you
below.
imagine your hands and wet and going out to feed the animals through this?
And they, with the wind chill and everything for them, I mean, you lose livestock and you lose livelihood. And I wonder how much snow they got in that. I wonder if anybody measured.
I don't know.
Yeah. I'm curious to know what was dumped on
and how long it stayed.
Well, yeah.
We've been talking also about the snowstorms of 1936. In fact, I'll talk later, but we have a presentation coming up about that, about the awful winter of 1936. And we were talking about how much snow came here that year. It was just a horrendous winter. But then the summer was drought. How did that happen? In my mind's eye, I think you have a winter with tons of snow, and of course that leads to
the precip should carry over,
right?
But it gets hot and dry. You lose your liquid or in the ground, and
But after the horrible winter of '36, we had the horrible summer of '36, and including a major tornado that struck this area in 1936. So the weather was just wacky. We think it's wacky now.
Yeah.
I think it doesn't compare.
Yeah.
Hearing these stories makes me understand even more that the weather patterns have changed.
Yeah.
You and I both kind of yuck about how fun blizzards were back when we were kids and the snowstorms. Well, yeah, we all remember days.
Sure.
When we had tons of snow, and we're not getting that now.
Yeah.
So
seems like the severity is different, and
but back in 1888 to go through
that was a tough one.
It was a real tough one.
Exactly.
Real tough.
People are lucky to be alive after something like that.
Yeah.
And it doesn't talk about any fatalities or
No,
anything?
not in this particular article. Again, this article was in the Milford Mail in 1936, describing the horrible blizzard of 1888.
Well, there's a rabbit hole for you to go down right there to find
there is. Another one. We have so many. We have so many rabbit holes around here. It's like we have potholes all over the.
Them rabbits is breeding.
In the exhibit hall.
Oh my goodness! So you have a presentation coming up. You said.
We do on Sunday afternoon, April 14th. At 2 o'clock, Don Hofshammer is coming back. Now, he did a presentation last fall on the railroads, and particularly this depot that we had a packed house for. And he did just a wonderful job. Don Hofshammer wrote what I consider one of the very best books about Lakes area history called Prairie Oasis back in 1885. And he's written many, many books about railroading and history since then. He's also been a professor of history, and he's just the nicest guy. And funny? Oh, is he funny? He's 85 years old. He comes from Mankato to do these. And he has put together a slide presentation that we'll be showing as part of his presentation of photos of the railroads in 1936 and what they went through to be able to bring goods to folks.
Sure.
These photos are just incredible.
Look forward to that. Again, on the 14th at what time?
At 2 o'clock in the afternoon.
2 o'clock?
Sunday afternoon. Right here.
Right here in this room, right here at the Dickinson County Courthouse. Where's my head at today?
I know.
Dickinson County Museum. Don't go to the courthouse. They're closed on Sundays.
But do come here.
But do come here. You'll be
And
open.
do come next Wednesday for Way Back When Wednesdays.
Yeah. And that's at 10 a.m.?
That's at 10 a.m. And this morning Frank came up with a wonderful idea of doing field trips. So we're looking into visiting other museums and fish hatchery and all sorts of good things.
Look at you guys.
Yeah, Way Back When on the go.
Having fun. Yeah, that's right. Very good. Drive-through service right here. All right, Mary, thank you for the information on the blizzard of 1888.
Yeah. Well, thanks for coming, Jeff. It's always fun.
Always fun. It's a pleasure to come here and find out more of our history each and every week. We invite you to do the same. Stop in here or watch us right here on Okoboji Broadcast. We thank Mary for her time. We thank you for watching us right here on Okoboji Broadcast. Okoboji Broadcast from the studios at historic Arnold's Park Amusement Park is brought to you in part by West Wealth Management, a financial advisory practice of Ameriprise Financial Services. Advisor Jan Spielman, AJ Spielman, and Erica Wachholz. The headquarters of the University of Okoboji is at the Three Sons, open Monday through Saturday 10 to 5 and Sunday from 10 to 4. Bank Midwest, dream big, plan wisely, live well. Lakes Regional Healthcare and Avera Partner. Beck Engineering in Spirit Lake. Be Radiant Laser Skin Studio in the Okoboji Plaza in Okoboji.